A lot of people are saying don't invest in oil and gas right now, while some of the biggest major players in the investing world are investing in it. Is now the good time? And we're going to answer that question and much more on this episode of The Crude Truth.
In 1901, at Spindletop Hill near Beaumont, the future of Texas changed dramatically as, like a fountain of fortune, thousands of barrels of oil burst from the earth towards the sky. Soon, Detroit would be cranking out Model Ts by the millions, and America was on the move, thanks to the black gold being produced in Texas. Now, more than a century later, the vehicles are different, but nothing else has truly changed. Sure, there may be many other alternative energy sources like wind and solar and electric. But let's be honest, America depends on oil and entrepreneurs, and if the USA is truly going to be independent, it has to know the crude truth.
Thank you for tuning in for another episode of The Crude Truth. I am just so excited today to bring in such a great individual, someone that I have had an honor to develop a great business relationship with, someone that has a lot of knowledge, surprisingly, in the oil and gas industry. This man, he does need an introduction. He's the president of the Sandstone Group here in Dallas, actually, and also is the host of the Energy Newsbeat podcast. And also, if you ever need to check out anything in the oil and gas industry, he has energynewsbeat.com. My guest today is Stuart Turley. Stuart, how are you?
Ray, it is totally an honor to be here with you. So thank you very much.
Oh, no. Hey, you know what? Let me know. Just send me the money for that introduction and right. We'll get it going.
Do you take Visa?
Always. Stu, thank you so much. Here we are. We're actually in our Dallas studio today, and you live here in Dallas. So thank you so much for coming, traveling so far today.
This is actually wonderful. And I'll tell you, I'm just so honored because it is fun to talk about energy in this market right now. When you sit back and you say, I've been watching your episodes on The Crude Truth, and they're fun. I learned a lot from you on these things. So well done on your podcast as well.
Oh, thank you. I definitely don't have the history behind mine, because you've been doing the Energy Newsbeat podcast for how long now?
We're on episode 61 of this round, okay. But my partner Michael Tanner and I have done them way before that at another firm, and so I can't believe that I graduated from high school in 1977 and am now a podcast host. Who would have guessed?
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. Well, tell me, you just mentioned right there that you graduated in 1977, but what's happened since then? What got you into the energy sector? And tell us a little bit about Sandstone and everything that you got going on.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll tell you, I'm old and I have, but I'm mentally 12. And so one of the fun things is I've had a nice career in a lot of different things. And now that I got to learn in the oil and gas industry by working with radio towers and bringing all the data from the well pads into the data room. And so subsequently, now I'm talking like you, sorry, this is your show, but too bad. And so Sandstone, I've got data scientists, and we take the information from the well pads to the accounting department, and then we take the information from the accounting to the investors. And so it's really a nice, unique front in energy, being able to have the data scientists and everything else understanding the whole from the well to the investor. So it's really pretty cool.
Well, I will say, we've had an opportunity at Pecos Country Operating to use your software and your team, and what it's been able to do to help us out is just awesome, and I really, really appreciate that.
I do take Visa for you to be able to thank you.
And what you guys are doing, again, I can't say it enough. It's very helpful. And
you bet.
Where can people find you for Sandstone?
They can find us at Sandstone group.co, or they can find me on energynewsbeat.com, or they can find me on LinkedIn.
So Energy Newsbeat, I tell you what, a lot of people click on that when they need to go get what's going on in the energy sector.
We've actually been working on Energy Newsbeat for about a year and a half, and we have some really nice news feeds. We have all my original stuff in there, and then it's just a blast. I'm a news junkie when it comes to energy. Just unbelievable.
Well, you have to keep up with the news. I mean, and obviously today, and I feel like for the last, God goodness, we're now in this here. President Trump, 2016, it's now last 6 years. I feel like every day something new, and every minute something new is going on. I mean, you take it that last week, Europe just basically recognized nuclear power and natural gas as renewable energies. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. And, RT, that is just absolutely amazing that the hypocrisy is they are in a worldwide energy crisis because of the ESG movement moving and forcing people to go to energy. We don't care what energy you use. We like solar, we like wind, doesn't matter. But let the market decide. And if you're going to have high cost of energy to the consumers, it's not going to do any good.
Right.
And so now Germany and Europe got themselves into a pickle by relying on all of the gas from Germany. And I would not want to play chess with Putin because he won this chess match. And they're importing, I think it's 35% of their gas, and it's like 70% of the energy from Russia in Europe, and they're shutting it off. To cover a little bit of this in this scenario, President Biden went over, and the G7 was talking about not only trying to do sanctions, but telling Putin what price he can charge for oil. Mm-hmm. All that's going to do is bring pain to the pump to the U.S. consumers. Let me tell you a little bit on how that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So Russia is up $14 billion, and that's $billion.
How many billion?
14 billion.
They're up.
From
what?
Over their expected revenues because of sanctions. They are selling the oil to Iran. They're selling it to India. They're selling it to China. Let me give you a little hint on what they're doing. Yeah, I have that same. I have that same look. I'm going, what? And so Iran has 4 refineries that are working with producing oil and gas and diesel, gasoline and diesel. Guess who's buying that?
Who?
U.S. So when you sit back and take a look at, you've got, hey, I'm serious. And so you've got, and then it's going back to also the EU. There is a diesel crisis going on in Europe, and they use a lot of their vehicles are in diesel. RT, how do you get all your groceries, or how do you get all the truckers going around the U.S.?
Yeah, we fill up vehicles mostly with diesel.
Oops.
Wow.
So Iran, we are actually buying Russian oil from Iran, and the molecule, you can't trace them that it's actually Russian oil.
Okay.
India has been increasing it, and India has taken a black eye. I'm really proud of India for taking advantage of that because they need all the energy they can get.
They're an up and coming, country.
They've got to elevate their population out of poverty.
Yes.
And I mean, it's unbelievable what they're doing. They're trying to do the best they can. I applaud them for getting the cheapest that they can.
Yeah.
So
I know you talk about the cheapest. I mean, here we are draining our strategic reserve right now, and we're literally paying now 5 times what we did when the former president filled it back up. When we're going to fill it up now, we're going to pay 5 times what it was.
You bring up a fabulous point, RT, and that is The strategic oil reserve is there for a reason. And President Bush in that Saturday Night Live was strategery.
Strategery.
Yeah, I love
That's
that
right.
word. I still use it. That tells you what my sense of humor is. And strategery involved, you got to have oil in case there's a worldwide problem, and it's for our military is what it's for. We are now in a national crisis because we've drained it, and it's going to China, and it's going back to Europe.
Yes.
Let's talk about ESG. Think about them tankers going back and forth around the world.
Right.
Oh, that's a lot of carbon being put out just because of the trade issues. So going back to the investing question that you had a little bit earlier, the ESG movement really took in. Do you remember when the little engine the little engine number one they put the ESG on the board?
Yes.
So they really brought it around. And what they did do, the good thing out of the ESG movement is it brought to light that the oil companies really do need to adhere to the right methodology, and instead of just saying they're green, actually have it really follow the ESG rules.
Right.
That's a great thing. But what they did by forcing it that way was they actually cost all of the market access to capital.
Yes.
When you have no access to capital, you're not able to drill wells. And since you're not able to drill wells, we don't have enough money in capital to keep up our normal decline curves. So, RT, you tell me when you drop a well in, you get big returns.
Big returns.
And it goes down.
Yep. Because it does decline over a period of time. But any asset truly, or a lot do, or some don't, depending on what it is. However, it is a finite number. However, it does usually last 30 years or so. Exactly.
And so we don't have in the world enough to even match that. So the investment community heard that. And I think it was 3 weeks ago, or almost a month ago. I have to fact check myself all the time. And so President Biden he asked everybody to go to the White House.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, showed up.
Exxon, Chevron, yes.
And they had to go visit with the Secretary of Energy, and he went and met with the renewable folks.
Yes. I thought that was just so embarrassing, because it's like, why would you invite all those people there and not even for photo op be in the room, for goodness sakes?
That was really sad, but I am so proud of the oil and gas executives. Without a question, all of them had to answer a question. Will you pump more oil and not give money back to your investors in order to put that capital back into drilling? And the guy said, the Democrat congressman said, will you do that? And they all said, no, we will give money back. And they kept trying to answer. And every one of them got this little soundbite in and says, no, we will drill more, and we will keep giving money back to our investors. So that money back to the investors is huge.
Very big, because guess what? It's a trickle-down effect.
You bet.
Yes.
And so as you take a look at the whole ESG investment mode, you take a look at the geopolitical model as it's coming in. This past week, RT, we had JP Morgan say $380 oil.
Yes. I'm on record. There's no way. I mean, it's going to be out there. There's no way. I mean, can you imagine what $200? And I've said that we could definitely see 200 if obviously the condition. But I cannot think of a condition to where we would need to see $380.
No, demand destruction is going to kick in. But when? Yeah. And then Citigroup came out and they said $80 oil.
Yes. And then what happened this week as well? We saw a drop. We actually dipped below $100 for
15 minutes.
Yeah. a day, and some people are very excited about it, but it's not going to hold.
Right.
I was talking to David Blackman the other day.
Yes.
And we were actually discussing this very thing. And the price of a barrel of oil is speculative.
Right.
It is 2 months out.
Right.
So this price that we saw when it went to $98, $96 was basically what they're estimating for August or September.
Right.
And they're basing it off of actually some pretty negative stuff.
Right.
A weak economy.
Right.
And the beginnings of a recession.
Right.
Okay. That's the only reason why it did. But they're not adding the fact that we're probably going to, they're estimating right now that in 2023,
right,
we're going to add another 1 million barrels of oil needed a day in the world.
Exactly.
And yet we can't even produce
what we got.
What we need.
OPEC cannot even meet their need. Saudi Arabia, nobody knows how much their reserves are. OPEC and OPEC Plus have not been able to meet their quotas. Yeah. How in the world? They don't have any excess supply to bring to market. So when President Biden goes to Saudi Arabia and begs for oil, it's a political stunt, and all he's doing is making Americans mad because we got some of the best Americans as we know out there. I mean, the oil field workers are the last cowboys out there. I love the oil field guys.
Absolutely. That's one thing that we enjoyed, when I had another guest on, George, and that's what we were talking about as well. It's like, hey, they are there. They work hard. No different than the cowboys and the farmers and the ranchers, which, cowboys, and they love what they do.
Yep.
But yet they're sitting at home waiting because, some people are sitting here going, we're at $100 oil. Why are we not drill, baby, drill? Well, it's really quite simple. The price of $100 oil today is not the same price of $100 oil it was 10 years ago when we had this again. We're basically at $80 oil right now. So we really need to see, unfortunately, 120 and stay there to possibly start drill, baby, drill.
Well, RT, as an EMP operator yourself, you're seeing the cost of drilling double, aren't you? Or is it double, or what is it?
In some cases, it has doubled. Pipe, steel prices have gone up ridiculous. I got one quote, and I had to fact check myself. It was like almost, all right, double check. I mean, look, it was over $50 a foot. And those are 30 feet each. You estimate $30 a piece of pipe. Over $50 a foot. So if you drill 5,000 feet, 10,000 feet, and then that doesn't include the lateral.
Yeah.
It's like,
I went to Oklahoma State, but that's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, no, that is a lot. And then not to mention the manpower. Like, let's get back to that. Some crews are still running on skeleton crews, and now they're staying busy 24/7, which is great. However, they're 2 months out, 3 months out, and the materials are 6 months out. So it's just and we're not the only industry that's having these issues. I will say that.
Oh no, and we're not going to see the rigs come back online because Scott Sheffield over at Pioneer Resources, he was out there saying that, hey, if we had all the rigs shut down during COVID, they are sitting there and they're in cold storage. Yeah. You can't bring them out of cold storage to throw them back into the fleet and start running again without a lot of cost.
Yep.
And the new rigs are not being built unless there's a 3-year contract on that. Now, who in the world's going to sign a 3-year contract with the current administration?
And that's the deal. And that's probably why Scott Sheffield, said, and this kind of the reason why I invited you on today. One, he wasn't available, and two, neither was Warren Buffett. That he said in an article about a week and a half ago that he's thinking we're going to see $100 oil straight for the next 5 years.
Well, I got a little tidbit for you.
Yes.
I was writing another article this morning. July 22nd, I wrote an article, and I said we will see $120 oil throughout the year in 2022. So in 2021, I wrote July and I even gave reasons. I went back and even said this again in November and gave my reasons for 120 oil. Okay. We're going to go between 115 and 120. And when we look back through the year, we're going to need to be at 135, 130 pretty consistently between now and Q4 in order to hit that number. Now, guess why I came up with that number?
Well, it's not because you went to Oklahoma State.
Oh, smack. It's because Saudi Arabia and Russia planned on their budgets that they needed 115 to 120. Saudi Arabia has to pay back all their social programs, and they paid back the money that they basically borrowed from Saudi Aramco in order to hit those numbers. I got my crayon out, and I started figuring out 115 to 120. So we're going to see the fluctuations down to 90, in a little bit, because people are going to hear Citibank and Citigroup, and then they're going to hear the JP Morgans, but we're going to see that steady for quite a while.
Wait, hold on. Let's get back to this. You're telling me that obviously OPEC is, as large as they are, is making sure that oil stays high so that they can pay back their own note?
Yep.
Is that some crude truth or what?
That is some crude truth, baby. And you heard it here second.
Holy, really?
Yes. And it's even worse, because when you take a look, let's throw another crude truth factoid in here.
Okay.
And when you take a look at the Iranian nuclear deal that's folding, and then last night I saw on the news that they actually said that they've got enough material that they can have a nuclear bomb within a week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not good news.
No, that's bad.
Well, why would you put that on my show? But keep going.
We can cut that out. But no, that was on Fox News last night.
Okay.
And so, but when you sit back and take a look, why did the nuclear talks even happen again? They only happened as a political stunt so that we could reduce the amount of sanctions on Iran, so we can get their oil instead of pumping our own. Then you also have who is mediating the talks? Russia. So Russia is now was negotiating. Do you think there was any chance that thing was going to go through when you have Russia negotiating between the U.S. and Iran? Yeah. So now you sit back and kind of go, now you see the crude truth is we're buying that. The EU is buying stuff from Iran.
Okay.
All this is all mixed in there together. So you now have China, and you then also have Russia, and you have Iran. There's now a new consortium building, and that new consortium is going to compete with the U.S. in the other area. You're seeing a bifurcation in the whole market, and you're going to see it blend off into a whole nother way. So in the next 3 years, you're going to see a whole new shift in how oil is priced.
Whoa.
How's that?
Wow.
That's some crude truth, baby.
Wow. That is amazing that all this is happening. And here in America, we are literally financially suffering. And all we need to do is have a president that supports his own Americans to get the economy. And obviously, and this is the truth, it's not overnight.
Right.
But we can get back to a great place if we could actually be real Americans and have a president that can lead us.
Jay Young wrote an article, I believe it was even Monday it went out.
Okay.
And Jay Young's article had in there and said, give Biden a pen and we can reduce oil and gas. Pain at the pump would be hit immediately. We haven't had a new refinery since 1978, 1977.
Correct.
Oh, yeah. When did I graduate from? I knew I'd swing back around to that somehow. And when you sit back and kind of go, wait a minute, how have we been able to grow? Well, they've added on to the old ones.
Yes.
And then we have the smaller refineries. Here's the gotcha. Okay. The gotcha is the smaller refineries don't have the same EPA regulations.
Yes.
So they can get rid of biofuel, and biofuel's bad. Ethanol's bad. Yeah. It takes up food. We're going to be in a food crisis. It's worse for your engines.
Yes, that corn, something about putting corn in an engine. I mean, I don't think that's a good idea.
You and I, hey,
I'm not a
smart.
scientist, so.
Last year there was a $2 difference a gallon.
Okay.
$2 in diesel between biofuel and regular diesel.
Wow.
So let's do some crayon math again on the crude truth.
Okay.
And that is, let's circle up around the refineries. And as we circle up around the refineries, this article in Jay's website, kingoperating.com, great article. And so when you go look around in that circle, all you have to do is have the EPA with a stroke of a pen from Joe Biden, and you can reduce, let's say, $1 a gallon for diesel.
Wow.
Let's say if you got it to a point where you could get rid of ethanol, oh, your cars would have less, you'd put out less. Oh, wait a minute. Ethanol's bad. When George W. Bush put that out there, it was a bad deal.
Yeah. No, it actually takes more gas or fuel or oil to actually make a gallon of gasoline with ethanol.
Great point.
I mean, it's why are we spending more to make less? I mean,
I don't know.
One of the best things I've ever heard is that if it doesn't make dollars, it don't make sense. I mean, that's the truth.
I love that, RET. I'm going to steal that.
But please do. I'm sure. I'm where I heard it. It's just funny.
That's the only way I know everything is I steal it from other podcast hosts.
Oh, is that what you do?
So when I watch the Crude Truth, immediately goes out on my podcast.
Is that so? Yeah. Well, this is well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, getting back to this whole ESG thing, because I mean, you could almost make an argument that using food would be ESG friendly. I mean, right? But I guess that would be another hypocrisy of the ESG.
Yes. And so what we're seeing from a financial side of things, we one of the side benefits of Sandstone is that we work with accredited investors as well as non-accredited investors. And we help look at just giving market advice. We're not financial advisors.
Right.
But as you can tell, I love talking numbers. I love figuring out where good investments are. I have a research team that looks at everything, and we don't do any investment advice, but we sure know what's going on in the market.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is that people are looking to hedge against inflation. What they're looking to try to find is, oh, by the way, where do I get some decent returns? Tell you, how's your 401k looking right now? It's kind of bleak sometimes.
I'm missing that Trump bump, and I bet 90% of America is missing that Trump bump.
Oh, absolutely. So when you take a look at your 401k, you can move it over to an alternative type investment. Alternative investments can be real estate. They can be and looking at oil and gas.
Okay.
And when you look at oil and gas, go to the independent E&P operators because you get 100% tax deduction. That's not bad. Yeah, 100% tax deduction. So when you take a look at that, I have just recently talked, in fact, this week, I talked to several big investment groups, and they were like, do you need a tax deduction? They go, yeah, my CPA said, get everything you can. I hate paying taxes.
Oh,
I don't mind paying my fair share. Yeah. But on the other hand, if they spend it wisely, I could care less. Hey, I get to pay my check.
Yep.
But I see the way they do with it.
That's how we started off. My dad was like, wait, you're telling me I can literally put my money in the dirt, in the ground, then give it to Uncle Sam and pay more in taxes? I'll do it.
Oh, no.
And yet the returns have been amazing.
And so the thought process is changing from investors to look at just regular investments in the stock market. The stock market has taken the biggest hit this year. I think it's 40 or 50 years. Whatever it's gone down. I mean, it's horrible. Wow. We're in the highest inflation we've had in 40 years. Jimmy Carter.
Yes.
Okay. I was around when Jimmy Carter was around. He was a nice guy, but a lousy president.
Yeah.
Okay. We got a now close runner for him, neck and neck.
Absolutely. You talk about that, and it's just putting the people in place. And, you just said it, maybe Jimmy Carter was a nice guy, but he was a bad president. And you look at this president, and he's got Miss Granholm as the Secretary of Energy, and she was the governor of Wisconsin, was it, or Michigan, something like that.
Yeah.
Had absolutely no idea what I mean, is there oil in Michigan or Wisconsin?
No.
And yet, at least the Trump, President Trump got Rick Perry to start out with, which, I mean, if this from Texas,
you would be a fabulous Secretary of Energy.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, you would. But you see the difference.
I do know several people that would.
The reason you're different, though, RT, is you ask questions. Right. If you don't know the answer, you ask the question. And that, to me, is a smart administrator. And you don't see that with our current administrator. They're not asking.
No, they're not asking any questions right now. But when you're looking at your at all these financials, and somebody's asking you about investing in oil, what type of companies are they investing in that really see the biggest returns?
Oh, the private ones. Absolutely, the private ones. Okay. And when you take a look at the public ones have a little bit of an ESG and their commitment to give back to their investors, which is in the stock market. Okay. So you need to go look at limited partnerships. And you look at, if you come in as a general partner, that's a whole different rule set and different everything else. But you come in as a limited partner looking for the non-accredited investor, you find those guys with a return. You get a passive income, you get the tax deduction. I'm sorry, I'm a cheerleader for all the the E&P operators out there. So
I can tell. That is great. and this is with the Sandstone Group as well, where people come to you for this type of advice or knowledge.
Knowledge is what we provide. We provide no investment advice.
Okay.
But I have some really cool data scientists that really, it's not me. I'm not that smart.
So, I'll ask you this, and this will be my, I got it. I do it every episode. And that's my crude truth question. And, right now, are you saying, hey, give me the crude truth? Are you telling people basically, hey, now's a great time to invest in oil and gas?
Absolutely. And you're going to see, can I say absolutely, kind of like Marsha, Marsha, and then President Biden's doing Russia. So I'm going to say absolutely. Okay. And the reason is because of taxes. Taxes are going to go up.
Oh, yeah.
And what you'll see from the right E&P operators is that as you invest in it, they'll open up another fund. And when they open up another fund, you're going to be able to get enough money that you're going to need another tax break.
Yeah.
I like needing to pay taxes and then looking for a tax break.
Yeah.
So the answer is absolutely, and absolutely.
And one more time, tell people where they can find you.
Oh, thank you, RT. They can find me at theenergynewsbeat.com, or they can find me on my LinkedIn. And I love helping people and talking about all types of energy. So thank you very much, RT.
Well, Stuart, thank you very much. And thank you, guys. And this is it for this episode of The Crude Truth. See you next time.
The easiest way to start your own podcast and TV show? Real News Communications Network. Stand out from your competition. Produce streams of high-quality social media content. Become a thought leader in your industry. With RNCN, you get to be the host. We handle everything else. Tour one of our 3 locations in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Colony. Call 972-402-6333 or visit launchashow.com to find out more.